Holding a Grudge
with Stevie and Robin.
And we are back. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Holding a Grudge. And I'll have Robin say that for you.
Holding a Grudge.
I love it. Anyway, welcome to episode 2, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed episode 1, and that's why you're back checking out episode 2. Basically, for those of you that don't know and are randomly watching this before watching episode 1, this is a cast where myself and Robin get together and we discuss the Netflix original J-horror series Ju-on Origins, based on the Japanese horror franchise Ju-on, also known in America as The Grudge. So basically, last week we covered episodes 1 and 2, and I'll put up a link on here on YouTube in the comments, or I'm sorry, in the description of this video. So that way you guys can go back and watch episode 1 in case you did miss it. But basically today we're going to be talking about episodes 3 and 4, which right before we started up here, Robin and I were just talking about how episode 4 is one of the, not one of the best episodes so far. And
so choice.
Yeah, so stick around. We're going to get to episode 4 here in just a little bit. But basically, we are going to start off with going back to just some comments that you guys have left for us from episode 1. We've got, because, last week, Robin, we talked about how there might have been some stuff that as Americans, we might have missed either because it was lost in translation or cultural, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so Jasper 916. I'm sorry, that was on a different thing. It was if I mispronounce this, I apologize. But user Ebizuka Trio said that there was a lot lost in translation. For example, the mom actually was not a prostitute. She was just a sex addict with, as they put it, very loose morals. So
yes.
We could kind of get that drift. I was under the impression that, she had been a prostitute. So,
right.
That was just my first impression of it. So with that being said, I was glad to see that, somebody could point that out for us. And clear up that misconception. And then Jasper 916 says that the storyline is a little strange.
Very.
And it jumps around a lot, which is something that we discussed last week. There's so many characters. There's so many storylines that it was kind of annoying me. But with this comment, and maybe you'll agree, I like to think of it now that and Jasper, thank you for this. He said, think of it like an anthology. So
yes,
with that, and I can't believe I kind of didn't think of it like that before. When you are thinking of it like an anthology, and then the overall frame story is the house,
right? Yeah, it clicks. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, and
I love that.
I like that too. I think that's a really good way of looking at it, is that each murder, each rape, however you want to, whatever horrible thing you want to think
all
about,
crazies.
Basically all the crazy shit and the cats. When you think about that, and then you're referencing it as each episode in an anthology or segment of an anthology, and that the house is the frame story in and of itself, I think that's an awesome way of looking at it.
Oh, totally. That works so well.
Well, yeah, especially because, you said like with every movie, with every episode, everything seems to go back to the house. And that makes sense. It's the beginning, it's the end, it's the alpha, the omega.
It's just rolling along.
Yeah.
And I keep killing.
And I like where it's going. And we're going to get to that in 1 second. We've got one more comment, and this is from, again, if I'm mispronouncing, my bad, but Chibi Dana Chan says that they think in terms of Kiyomi, who is the exchange student, that what she experienced kind of affected her psyche, pushing her over the limits and finally taking things into her control. Kiyomi having Yudai walk her home and Yudai was her attacker, for those of you forgetting, which I definitely forgot his name. So thank you for this. Yeah, whoopsie. Kiyomi having Yudai walk her home was, in a sense, to get back at his girlfriend, aka Robin's favorite character.
Oh yeah, she was
that bitch. Well, that snake. But it was in a sense a way to get back at his girlfriend, to show her that her plans to humiliate her had no effect on Kiyomi.
She had no power.
Yeah. So she was basically proving that she was in control, and then she stole her boyfriend. Not only that, yeah, exactly. And then she points, or I'm assuming with Dana, but Dana could be male or female. But Dana points out that not only that, but she probably has a sense of being wanted because her home life was so complicated and tragic. Her father, giving her more attention than probably what is appropriate. And her mother jealous and envious of her daughter's beauty and attraction, which that was very obvious as well.
Right.
So thank you for that comment, because those are all points that we touched on. And to have somebody else who watched the episode go into detail like that is awesome, because I think it goes right along with our themes of abuse and everything like that.
And it just keeps on going.
Yeah, it really does. So why don't you kick us off? I've got my notes here, but let's go ahead and bring us to episode 3, 1994. What's going on?
1994. I know that year well. That's the year I graduated high school. It might give away my age, but that's the year I graduated high school. I loved how it just keeps up, because back to Kiyomi, she's now a mother. She has her own child. She's with this deadbeat guy that is complaining about his job. Is complaining about how she ruined. I'm not sure. Was that you, Di?
Yes.
She's married, was it?
I had to look it up because I was like, is this Tool him? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Because he's a total asshole. You know what I mean? So
I guess it was that he didn't have the pompadour anymore. It kind of looked a little different.
Exactly. Well, and I think that was the point, was like, so I went to the wiki and I looked it up, and it is him and her, and they have assumed different identities, I guess, to escape from the authorities after. Yes, because I mean, they murdered her mother. But so
I thought it was him because of that line that she said about, her mother and everything. You're treating me like my mother, and he freaked out. And
I did look that up, but it is Yudai. And
that poor child. It just broke my heart. I was like, oh, I just wanted to take him and hug him.
I know. It goes to show you that with continuing with the theme of abuse on this show, that again, we touched base on this last week. Women and children are consistently being used and abused in this.
Exactly.
In this series. And that just goes to show you how volatile these spirits are, because they're rage.
We still don't know where that started.
Exactly.
Why is it targeting just the women and the children? And it's almost like if you cross the threshold in this house, you're just screwed. You just take it. You're either taking something with you, or you're stuck here and you're gonna die.
My opinion of why it seems to target who it targets, and why these things are going on is with who is involved, is because I believe that the spirit, just like in the films, I believe the main spirit is feminine.
Oh yeah.
And
it's
trying
the woman in white.
Yes. She's trying ultimately to, get revenge on those that, take advantage of other women or those less fortunate type of thing.
Right.
It seems to me that even though women also suffer at her hand, that the women who do suffer deserve it.
Right. Because they're not virginal.
No, exactly.
Like a final girl, like in Western movies or television shows.
And if you look at,
they're kind of skeezy.
Yeah, and so like one of my notes here for episode 3 is that it almost looks like Kiyomi and the ghost. Like I even put like question mark, Kiyomi and the ghost are friends. Like,
Right?
it seems that, of course, and you had said last week you think that the ghost or the spirit attached itself to Kiyomi,
Yes.
which I think that's pretty evident now that it has. But it doesn't seem that the spirit is like fucking with her and attacking her. It's almost like there for the ride.
Right.
And or as you called her, the woman in white is almost there like, well, I don't know what you expect your life to be like, bitch. Like, you know what I mean?
Look what you did.
Yeah,
look
at
how
your
your consequences.
Exactly. So, you know, like you said, we've got this little boy, and you know, we're sad for him, but you know, it's continuing the theme of child abuse and domestic violence.
Right.
And you know, then we go back into our pal Haruka and the writer.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. Go ahead. No, I'm just happy to see that they're, you know, still alive well.
I love how her boyfriend, I'm not even going to try to say his name. So, because I want to call him Tetsuo, but I know that's wrong. That's Akira. So
Tetsuya,
not Tetsuo. But I love how he's almost become a protector spirit.
Yes.
He shows up and protects her and his mother.
That and that part right there. So now of course, more characters. The exhaustion.
More characters.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the new characters yet.
Right.
But so Tetsuya's mother, I believe it was either at the end of episode 2 or the beginning of episode 3, where she says, "Well, you know, we're kind of like mediums in this family.
Yeah.
You know, we can speak.
We all got the gift."
Yes. So she has a seance with Haruka, and I really liked this scene because remember last week I said that I wasn't sure if it was going to get scary, and I was hoping it would. The episode 3 was the turning point for me, where it was like, okay, we're ramping up the creep factor here with the seance.
Yeah, they're digging into the spiritual world.
Yes,
into some of the really spooky stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked that. And like you said, you've got the protector spirit, but then you've also got the woman in white who's like, "Oh no, come see me at the house." Right? Where it is.
It's there.
Exactly. So, but then if you think of Tetsuya, it kind of goes against the grain of why the spirit would go after him. Because like I said, she seems to go after nasty people, but to me, it didn't seem that Tetsuya was like a real bad guy.
Right. He seems so kind, and he really did love his girlfriend, and apparently was good to his mother. So
yeah.
Maybe it's because he was psychic. He could see her.
Yep, and she got pissed off about that, or
she's like, don't look at me.
Yeah, it like crossed a line, you know. So with that being said, I'll say, and then the cats, if you noticed, again,
yes, they're everywhere.
They're brought into this episode too. So, and then we actually, Joe and Bree and we just talked about cats being harbingers on our podcast last Monday. You know, I referenced this show again, saying, you know, it just seems that across almost every culture, you'll find some way to connect death and cats or the spiritual world in some way. And like you said, Tetsuya's family is so connected to the spirit world that it makes sense that they would have these creatures in their home that are also connected to the spirit world.
I love that. I love that they still use cats today, even today, in storytelling.
Like absolutely.
With the spiritual and the other world, the ether, the other,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it in the story.
Because it connects, it's a way of connecting us to that, maybe.
Right.
I think that's an important part of the lore, and I agree with you. I like that they're still using it. So going back in here, and of course, we have our beloved writer character, who I think we say is one of our favorites. So I put in here, I'm glad to see he looks like he hasn't aged a day.
Right.
Like, 6 years later, he looks good. But it seems to me like he has, so he's finished his book, and he's kind of got like this cult following now.
Right. It's
like
kind of cool to see how he's got all these people kind of helping him talk about this house.
So you've got like people that want to come see him speak live, and then you've got people writing him letters, and then you've got Haruka and him meeting up again 6 years after the fact. And I do like that we called it, they are going to team up together to find this house. And then we've got the mysterious and actually they didn't go too much into it, but and then this might be a good segue point for bringing episode 4 into the fold. But the mysterious letter writer, the prisoner. Yes.
Yeah.
So my assumption is that this prisoner who reaches out to the writer is the guy who abducted the child. That's my thought.
Yes, I think that's who that is, because he is called a child killer.
Yes, but they're they don't go into detail about like what he did, and he did say like, I'm not talking about my case,
no, we're just gonna talk about this.
Yeah, he's like, my lawyer said, but I think that is him from the first episode.
I do too, because I remember him being very creepy looking. And the dude was creepy looking.
Yeah. And then he mentioned listening in his car to the I guess the 80s version of podcasts, whatever they were back then, because he's like, yeah, I record all your shows.
I guess it's like a talk radio type deal.
Yeah. So I think that is him. So if anybody watching can confirm that or correct us, please let us know in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think of that? And again, this is all kind of tying together, and I'm excited to see where the show's going to go now. What do you think? Do you think that this child killer plays a bigger part in the overarching story?
I kind of think he does. I want him to, because I want it to be like almost, I don't know, it's another layer on top of another layer.
Exactly. And
it
would be like a sweet vengeance type of deal, maybe with the ghost, because there's some people you really do want the woman in white to just kill. Like,
Take him out. He's trash. Get rid of him.
So what about, now again, the exhaustion, but more characters.
Right.
What is your take on the new characters that were introduced, the pregnant woman and her husband?
Okay. I was sitting there watching it, and I was thinking, okay, this is not going to end well for neither of these people.
No.
And it didn't. And I was like, this is what she looks for. This is what the woman in white looks for.
Absolutely.
And it all goes back, and we're getting closer and closer to the time of 2000 when the the movie happens.
Yes.
So, and that, was infidelity, and he got upset, and instead of being a man about it, killed his wife and child. So this is
that right there. So the pregnant woman and her husband, and we're not going to talk real spoilers, guys. We'll do that in episode 3 once everybody's watched these particular episodes. But as far as from start to finish, that sequence, there is a specific interaction with the pregnant woman and her husband in episode 4. That sequence is wild, like capital letters, wild from start to finish.
Yeah.
Because this woman is so nonchalant in her inflection, in her mannerisms. Everything about the way she's dropping these bombs verbally, her husband, is so
she's so calm.
Yeah. Meh.
Here, drink this.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I've been going through.
Yeah. And then, but his response after so the husband drinks a glass of wine and sets it down, and there comes that absurd dark humor because he also nonchalantly responds. And it's so, again, like when I said Kiyomi's mother was being murdered and just screams out the most absurd thing she could think. Are you mad about the cat? You know what I mean? It kind of reminded me about that, because it was just kind of like, wow, these people are really fucking mentally disturbed. You know what I mean?
I mean, if it had been me, there would have been dishes broken. There would be
we would have broken a chair. We would have that bottle of wine would not have been on that damn table. It would have been broken on someone's head.
It'd have been WWE up in that bitch. I would have.
Like, and I even put that right there. I was like, oh shit, the whole scene is wild. Everything from that nonchalant confession to the let's call it home surgery. Yeah. So everything about that, I would say that it was the most disturbing and violent episode so far.
It was like, okay, the first 2-3 episodes, it's very clean. Very clean. Yep. There's no gore. There's nothing. And then you hit the 4th episode and they're like, well, we got all this blood. Let's use it. And I'm like,
we've been saving it up. We've been saving up all this stuff for our special effects, so we might as well just use it all in one episode.
We got it. There we go. We're just going to throw it everywhere. It was insanity.
Yes. But I, of course, and being horror fans, we're all kind of morbid way, but I loved it. It was like, wow, this is violent and disturbing, and it's wonderful in so many ways. And I was hoping that you'd feel the same way. Just how episode 3 ramps up the creep factor, and then 4 just punches us in the face with the violence and gore.
Right.
And truly felt like horror.
And then that ringing phone.
Yeah.
That was good.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Was so good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see where that goes.
Oh, absolutely. So what did you think of the scene? And again, it's kind of hard to discuss specific scenes without going into spoilers, but I thought something that was done very well was the flower garden.
Yes.
Because it added, even though the husband is obviously emotionally disturbed. He's very insane, clearly. He's had a mental breakdown, and the whole flower garden scene added a really necessary emotional touch to everything. Because like you said, with a lot of times with J-horror, they throw in that humor to break up the tension. And I feel like we had such a shock to the system of violence and gore and disturbing content that it was like, they were like, okay, well, let's give a little bit of something nice in here. Followed by more creepy stuff.
Right. But it's almost like a peaceful moment. It's almost like he knew that what he did had to happen there.
Yeah.
It had to happen at the house.
Yep.
Because of what he says later. And I'm like, oh, that kind of hits different.
It
after
does.
That. And you're like, well, it kind of makes sense too.
Yes. Especially with the whole, would you like to have some dinner? Oh,
yeah.
It's like
the pot noodles.
It's like, here's the reward. Here's some food,
Thank you for dinner. It was delicious.
I did. Yeah. And that whole sequence was done so well.
Oh, so good.
I'm almost glad. I feel like episode 4 and episode 3, pacing wise, should have been swapped because of how slow 1 and 2 were. And I understand the slow burn, but 4 would have really brought everything up, and then kind of we even back out with 3, because I have a feeling I didn't skip ahead this time. I didn't skip ahead. I didn't cheat. I have a feeling 5 and 6 are gonna be explosive.
Oh yeah,
I think so.
Me too. I'm wanting everything to come together, but I'm kind of hoping it doesn't quite wrap up, because I'm kind of hoping there is a season 2.
And that's what I've heard. I've heard that they are supposed to be continuing this to showcase other decades. I don't know if you looked that up or read anything about it.
I haven't.
So supposedly there's something that happened in the 1950s that has yet to be shown.
That makes me excited.
Yeah. And again, I don't know, maybe because I didn't look ahead, I didn't watch ahead, but it could be, we could be going to the 1950s in episode 5 for all I know. But that would be a really cool decade to visit, not only for Japanese culture, because it was a very way different time. I think worldwide, I mean, fuck, the 50s is just a strange decade at all. But to go talking and treading the waters of murder and violent crime in 50s Japan would be insane to see. I don't know that it's been done in horror before.
I don't think so. Of the millions of Japanese horror movies that I've seen, I don't think I've ever seen anything touch on that.
Yeah.
Because again, it was kind of a weird time in Japan.
Yeah, absolutely. So hey, and again, if anybody watching knows of any Japanese 50s horror themes,
let me know.
Yeah, let us know. We'd love to watch it, and then we'll make a show about it.
The one thing that I did notice that I kind of came to the conclusion of, since this has now become a haunted house story.
Yes. Yep.
Is that in American horror, the haunted house is always creepy. It's dark. It's decrepit. It looks like you look at it and you go, no, fuck that. I ain't going in there. No. But this house is nice. It's like, it almost looks inviting.
That's why people keep buying it.
Right.
People keep buying it because they're like, wow, there's really great amenities and the yard is nice.
It's a lovely flower garden.
Yeah, could you maybe stop mowing the lawn so this house stops selling? Like, give it some negative,
break some windows,
take
dirty it up a bit.
Leave the doors unlocked and put more cats in the yard.
Right.
I don't know. Because I know around here the cats come and shit all in my flower beds. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do? Just kill some mice. Don't use my bathroom.
It's free fertilizer. It's free fertilizer.
Okay, so there's a pretty decent reveal in episode 4 regarding our writer friend. We're not going to reveal what that is for spoiler's sake, but were you expecting that the writer was going to be involved with the story and the history in this way?
I didn't. I really didn't. I figured there was some tie when he started talking about his family, but he didn't start talking about his family till this episode.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
That to me right there makes me worry for him, especially because he's one of my favorites.
Me too.
And then at the very end, we're kind of left on a cliffhanger. If you die, and that makes me worried for him as well, because he's really told, run away. run away. Yeah, exactly. So, 2 characters' fates that kind of are maybe going to be hanging in the balance that I'm worried about. Well, you guys are a piece of shit anyway, so he died. I won't mind if he died, and I'm sure you feel the same.
Right.
I am worried about our writer friend.
Yes.
And then
I'm kind of like the fact that we now have a third partner in this.
Oh, I
hunting
know.
team.
The
CPS agent.
Yes, I was like, I don't know her name. What else? No, that was a pleasant surprise as well.
Right? Because she tried to help Kiyomi's son.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, this is someone who knows abuse. She knows.
And again, she brings another emotional aspect to these two episodes as well, because she is feeling very guilty about something that happens. She feels responsible for it because she wasn't more aggressive.
Right.
And because of that, our pal Kiyomi, she goes through some pretty dark stuff. And where is she? In episode 4, we don't see her at all.
And and they're still talking about the 2 missing high school students.
I saw that.
And I'm like, oh, where did they go?
So that was something Robin and I discussed last week on our episode 1 as well. It was that pay attention to the background. Obviously it's Japanese. So unless you can read Japanese, pay attention to the subtitles. Don't be on your, but characters are mentioned in the background throughout this show. Violent crimes are still being mentioned in episodes 3 and 4, either in newspapers or on the radio or TV.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting.
They're talking about gas attacks a lot in this one.
Yep, the sarin gas.
And it's reminding me a lot of what happened in the 90s. Back in my day. In the 90s, where they had the ricin attacks in the subways, stuff like that. Yeah. From that weird cult guy. Ooh, I can't remember the cult, but
I'll have to look into it, and I'm actually going to make a note of that to look up the cult name.
Because it's interesting.
That makes me wonder, are we going to get introduced to this element now in episode 5 or episode 6, or perhaps season 2?
Right.
There's all clues in the background, it seems to me. Now that we're 4 episodes deep, almost every episode has a clue in media format, whether it be talk radio, news, television, or books.
Right. We haven't hit the internet yet.
No, not yet. Hey, we are in 1995 by episode 4, so who knows? But even it wasn't nearly what it was now. So I'm very curious what directions episode 5 and 6 could go. Last week we did our predictions that Haruka and the writer would team up, and now we've got a tripod of awesomeness.
Right.
Yeah, we've got the actress, writer, and social worker. It almost sounds like the beginnings of a bad joke, but it's better.
Walking to a haunted house.
Exactly. I love it so much. I'll try to finish this joke and maybe we can tell it. I don't know. What are let's see what, and I'll write them down and we'll check back with episode 3 and see if we are right. What are your predictions for Yudai?
Either he's going to just completely disappear, like just completely, or he's going to get his comeuppance in a big way.
Yep. Comeuppance. I'm writing this down and then we're gonna gamble on it. I think I like the whole disappearing thing, but I think because his ex-girlfriend and Mai have already done the whole disappearing act, they're probably going to come back in some way as spirits, I'm assuming. But I don't think we'll see him disappear. I think he'll probably die. Or I think Kiyomi's going to kill him. Right.
It's going to be like a battle.
Yeah.
Royale.
Either the woman in white will kill him or that's how he's going to die from the house. Or I think that Kiyomi's going to kill him because of everything that, that she's gone through since meeting him.
Right.
And then what do you think? I found it interesting that poor Tetsuya, I had it written down. Now I forgot it. he tried so hard to be like, Mom, you guys need to stay away from this fucking house.
Don't go.
And then Haruka's like, I gotta find this house. And she goes,
No, you don't.
Yeah. So it's like this poor guy is dead. And his spirit, like you said, his protector spirit's trying so hard to be like, guys, no. But then they want to go anyway. And it's just kind of like, I don't think we've seen the last of him. Do you think we've seen the last of him?
No, because it's a big thing also in Japanese culture is those that respect the dead and that have protector spirits. It's something, especially like in families. Yeah. They're always celebrating their ancestry. Mm-hmm. And he's not quite crossed over or whatever you want to call it. So he's hanging around and he's like, I cannot let anybody else be touched by this house. So he's going to do whatever he can to keep it out of there. But as we know from the movies, everybody's tried to burn the damn place down and it still hasn't happened.
I know. And I'm hoping we can get something different and we're not going to see any kind of like arson again, but who freaking knows? But yes, we agree we're going to see Setsuya again. And what about cats? You think we're going to see more cats?
I hope so, because, Kiyomi's kid, when, you're first introduced to him, he does start meowing.
Oh, yeah. So, and you're like, excuse me, you did what now? Sir, what are you saying? Excuse me, sir, are you all right there? Because my son suddenly started meowing, which babies do sound like cats. Strangely, I found that out recently. I didn't know that. But if he just starts meowing, I'm probably going to be like, okay, I'm going to get the Google out and find an exorcist of some sort. Okay, so closing thoughts. What did you think of episodes 3 and 4 compared to 1 and 2?
Okay, 1 and 2 was a good setup. It was a good setup. I enjoyed it. And then 3 and 4 just kind of spiked it. And I'm like, oh, so we're going to do this now. Okay, I'm down. Let's do it. And I can't wait to see what 5 and 6 does.
Yes,
because it's going to have to top 4. Don't know how it's going to.
Man, I'm telling you, especially the whole, and I'm telling you guys, like, if you haven't watched it, go. Hopefully this will make you go watch it, or you'll watch it again, because the episodes are so short. I probably will watch this whole series twice, maybe 3 times. Yes. And again, remember last week, I was not convinced, and now I am. Episode 4 was that.
Hold on.
Yes, thank you. And hold on. Episode 4 was that turning point for me, because I was on that fence. Now I'm on the other side. I'm ready. Let's go. I'm going to the house. I got my popcorn.
Let's go.
Yeah, dude, I'm ready to ride this wave, because when I say that from the moment the pregnant woman opens her mouth in that kitchen up until the very end of the episode where Yudai is speaking to his son, the episode's nonstop. Right. We have a little bit of builds in the beginning. A little bit of builds in the beginning, which of course that's to be expected. We've got a setup. But man, what an episode! 4 knocks it out of the park. And I wanted to avoid reviews and stuff like that, so that we could talk about it with our own clear heads. But I'm very curious what the ratings are on IMDb for this episode, because I gotta say this is the best so far, and I'm hoping, man, that bar is set now. That bar is set, so 5 and 6 better surpass it, because I don't want to be let down.
I'm so excited. I'm really excited to see where this goes, and it kind of makes me wish, like, this is kind of tied in with Ringu, the Ring, and all that, with their weird little crossover movie that they did.
And there's so much potential.
Right. I would like to see, not necessarily in this series, but maybe them do a Ringu series like this.
Especially because there's, and we could have a whole separate segment for this. But there's so much lore that, historically you could have like an origins for that. And I think it would be, and this is just my opinion, I think it would be even better than the Ju-on series.
I agree, because to me it was, the Ringu movies were always a little bit above Ju-on, just a little bit.
I did kind of favor them myself as well. I don't know what it was about them. I always liked the storyline a little bit more, I guess, because the whole, like you said, haunted house thing is kind of like tried a little bit. And the Ringu series is definitely unique in many ways. God, if you've been living under a rock at this point in 2020 that you don't know anything about it, like just get away. Just hit the X browser. Why are you watching this? But no, I think that would be great. And shit, I'm gonna Google it and see if they're talking about doing a series like that, because an origins on that would be like tits for real.
Right. We've because there's the Japanese, I own every incarnation of the Ringu series, all the Japanese movies. I have the crappy American ones. The only one I don't have Rings, because it was terrible.
No, the first one was actually okay. Like the Ring.
The Ring was good. The Ring was good. The Ring was like, I'm talking about the remake that they did. That was terrible. Yeah. I also have the South Korean version that's called the Ring Virus.
Oh.
Yeah, I scoured everywhere for it, found it on eBay, and I was like, yeah, that's mine. And I also have the Sega Saturn game that's based on that movie. I went a little crazy.
Fangirl over here.
Just a little.
Oh, I love it so much. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed episode 2 of Holding a Grudge. I don't do it as well as Rob. You just got to say it again.
Holding a Grudge.
Holding a Grudge, guys. Episode 2. We'll go over new comments next week. We'll go over the episodes 5 and 6, which better be explosive. And we'll cover and see if our predictions are right. Those predictions, again, are you guys going to fight it? Tetsuya will be back. We're going to have more cats. And
more cats.
Thanks for tuning in. As always, subscribe so that you don't miss episodes of Holding a Grudge and our other segment, which is the Horror Metal Cast. And leave your comments. Let us know what you'd like. If there's anything that you would like us to talk about regarding the Ju-on Origin series, let us know. We will definitely talk about it. We read the comments, as you saw at the beginning of this episode. So very cool, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's been real.